Right guys, this is going to be a solo flawless prophecy dungeon while not using Anarchy or any Pinnacle ritual weapons, which includes 21% Delirium, Wendigo, Mountaintop, any of those types of weapons we're saying we're not using. If you just want to see that run, then skip to time on the screen. The rest of you can give you an insight on the armor and the weapons that I'm using before I do the run. I'll do commentary right the way throughout it, like I did on my first run, since that initial video done so well. I wanted to do another video like that. This video is going to be dedicated, like I said, it's mainly people who haven't got the Mountaintop Anarchy combo. Alright, I'm still advising that the easiest class to do this on is a Warlock. Okay, if you're somebody who plays all three classes and you want this flawless, do yourself a favour and just go on the Warlock. Alright, unless you're really good on Night Stalker Bottom Tree, or you're good on a Sunbreaker Titan, or you know, a One-Eyed Mask Sentinel, which I'll get runs on a Titan and a Hunter down the season, but for now this is me saying, right, this is the easiest way to do it. So there's two different builds I end up using throughout the run. So at one stage I'm using Devour, well, most of the stages I'm using Devour Voidwalker, and another stage I'm using, well, a Radiance. For people who have watched runs, you'll probably realise what I'm basically doing. I'll talk you through each build. This is going to be a long video, so like I said, if I'm talking too much, you just skip to the run. But it's for people who don't understand the small details, like little things that they didn't know. So first I'll talk about weapons. So we have the Witherhoard. You can obtain this weapon from your season pass. It's from rank 1, it's from the box. So there's no excuses there. People will have this. As long as they have the season pass, they'll have this weapon. This weapon basically does what Anarchy does. You stick an enemy with it, it does damage over time. You can use it in the same way. It might not be as effective sometimes, but it's a special weapon and it can compete with it a little bit. It's not as good, but it's the next best thing for you, so I'd advise putting this on. Then we're using the Gambit Prime, or the Gambit Auto Rifle. This is the curated roll that I have, so it's Overflow, Rampage. If you have a god roll from this season, use it. Just use whichever one's best to you. I mean, if you have Recluse, you can use it, but I actually think, especially on console, with Recluse's range being poor, yeah, this is actually better than Recluse in PvE. So, and it's important you have a Void energy weapon as well, plays into the build. So we have this Auto Rifle on, which is one of the best in the game. We use this Interference Grenade Launcher, which is a world drop, so anyone can farm this. All you need is basically an auto-load and holster grenade launcher with spike nades. That's all you need. If you have Wendigo, go and use that. That's the best option. If you don't have Wendigo, use something else that's got auto-load and holster. You want auto-load and holster on. That's the make or break with it. We also use this sword, the Fallen Guillotine. This is again something that you can't be excused for. People will have this weapon. You just need to level up your season pass rank. I think it's at 36 something, or whatever it is. This is a semi-god rolled one. You don't need a god rolled one. The season pass one will do you. I have done it with it before. Let's just double check the roll on it. So if you pick this one up and you haven't got any sword better than this, then use that one. It will do the same job as what mine did. Just I wanted to farm out a roll and masterwork it just because. Make sure you're putting taken spec on all your weapons as well. You don't want to be putting major, minor or boss. You don't need any of that. Other weapons have a kinetic sniper handy. Found that useful at times. And Xenophage. Now, it's not a big ask for me to say to people, right, use Xenophage. I feel as though a lot of people have this. If you don't, you could use something like this. Here Apparent, I guess, would work. 21% Delirium if you have it. Kind of do the same job, especially if you've got taken Armaments, but by far Xenophage is the best weapon, I think, for the cube room. Even better than Anarchy, way better. So I strongly recommend you have that on you. That's weapons. On for armor. So we're using Nezarec's Sin, so it says Void kills increase ability regen, so any Void kill. That's why we've got this auto rifle on. We use it for the full run, so we're always getting super, and that works on any subclass. Doesn't matter what you're on, it'll work for everything. So we never take this thing off. We run we got grenade launcher and we'll find a double. We've doubled up on it. And our gauntlet's got loader perks for our auto rifle. We've got Taken Barrier. We've got Hive Invigoration and Large Arm Reserves for our grenade launcher. I'll talk more about Hive Invigoration when we're doing the run. We've got Special Ammo Scavenger on. Just always end up having that on with Hive Barrier. And we've got Taken Armaments with Oppressive Darkness and Concussive Dampener. Concussive Dampener helps out with area effect attacks against you, i.e. the snipers. Stuff like that. You want that mod on. It saves you. Okay? Also, you notice I've doubled up on Hive and Taken Barrier. They stack together. You can also put on Fallen, Taken, Hive all together and have them on at the boss. Okay? It's not needed though. Taken and Hive will do you. I'll talk more about the mods when I'm actually in the run. That's the build that I'm using. I don't change it up. The only thing I change up is I put a machine gun loader on when we're using Xenophage, and I do use Radiance for one of the fights. So that's basically the intro for it. Okay, so I'm in the run. So straight away we have the first encounter. I'm going to show you how that you can skip this encounter and you don't need to do it. The only reason is for a time save. This first encounter is just showing you the mechanics. If you already know the mechanics and you've been doing solos and dying at the final boss and stuff, there's no need for you to be doing this. This is how you skip it on a wall. You do double dodge up this pipe. You make sure you have plenty of sword ammo. I do it to the right side of this platform, if you like, and then you do the double dodge at the right time. It might take a bit of practice, a few runs before you get it. When you're jumping over to the next platform, do another double dodge, and then that's skip. I just advise it because it's just a time save. The encounter before us is nothing. There's nothing to it. So, but anyways, we're going to swap back to middle tree, and then we're going to be on with our first encounter. So we are using Radiance with Witherhoard, the Fallen Guillotine Sword, and Hunger. Okay. So we're not using Devour on this encounter. You don't need to use Devour. So straight away we can do Radiance. Since our build, we're gonna get our super back. Okay, so we can afford to use a well at the start. But that's the only time you want to be doing it. You don't want to be doing your well any other time apart from boss damage. So for now, we're just sort of sitting in our well, going for a dark modes first. I used to always go for dark first for whatever reason. Also, as you see, there's 4 dunks to get. Okay, so I'm kind of trying to talk to people who have done this and failed and know the mechanics, and people who are new to it at the same time, so it's hard. So basically, I do the bottom dunks. So there's 4 dunks to get. Okay, you'll often see people on runs, they'll do the safe dunks first. They go wrong. You don't want to be doing it safe dunks first. You'll be doing the harder dunks at the start of your run, because if you do happen to die on them, it's just a reset at that point. Go raw a bit quickly. Also be using no nades on the well range. Don't use your nade. You don't need to. You have the Witherhoard to clear ads, so you have your nade to save you, especially when you're dunking. If you dunk and there's 3 knights, you're more than likely going to need a healing nade, even with the mods that we have. Okay, so we have a light and dark to do. So we figured, since there's no ads up and light is the hardest dunk, it's harder than dark, we prioritize light first. The boss did push me, but I equipped my sword. If I had got past, I would have been able to sword back on there, so it wouldn't have been. That was also risky, so I had a healing nade just in case, but I cancelled it since I didn't need it. Be sure to use the cover like I am. Just helps out a lot. It stops the knights from enrage, and if a knight does enrage on you, they basically enrage on you like an overloaded Minotaur. It's the same thing, but they do it sometimes. They do. You just need to keep going. Don't stop at any point, unless you have to. Just keep rotating around the towers. As you can see, you can just take this slow. If you do get an ad spawn while doing knights, you can just forget about your mods if you're struggling, and then just take the scions and then go back on knights. The scions are on a timer, and they're like that for the whole run. Okay, they're on a timer. I don't know what the time is. probably should have timed it so that you know. But there, I think there was a sound. No, it wasn't. It was a night spawn. So I'm not 100% on the time on them, but right now we're on our last dunk. So the important thing is that you have full sword ammo. You notice I not use any sword ammo. I'm waiting for the boss to position himself, and then I do a well Radiance. Which is ideal if you get it like that. You do not want a well on his head. Okay, it causes him to freak out. And at this point you just want to do light swings. As soon as you get a charge, you can do a heavy, but don't do a heavy when he's doing his shield moves, because sometimes the heavy attack on this sword does immune damage. Now if he does go immune, well, the Radiance bypasses his immunity, as you see. Like so. But obviously now he is immune, my well ran out. So you have to get the goblin that's interfering with it. And then that's an easy one phase. So that's why we've got this setup on. You do not want to be two phase in this fight, especially on this class. If you're on something else like a hunter, that's fine. You know, you've got it, but you've got your invis and everything to save you. But yeah, on a warlock you want to be one phasing every time. If you do not one phase it, just reset your run. You've done nothing. You didn't even do the first encounter. I didn't even do the first encounter. So if you do screw up the first phase, it can happen. He can shield bash you off the map, all sorts. Okay, so that can happen. But that's the first boss anyways. So this is the wasteland. I imagine nobody's going to have problems with the wasteland. It can catch you off guard if you're not aware of the minotaurs behind you, the invisible minotaurs. Okay, so you need to be careful of those. So we can, obviously we was being on a warlock, we can heal him with inside the blight, take the ads. We get our Nezarec sin. As you can see, look at all the super energy that we're getting, and we're on well. It is by far one of the best exotics. I would say this and Controversial are the best two for this dungeon, depending on what build you're doing though. So for those that don't know, I'm sure you do, with the blights encounter, you need to kill all ads and blights. You can't just kill the blights and move on. Okay, to spawn it, as far as I'm aware anyways. And obviously on a solo floor, so you want to be just killing everything anyways. I also put a sniper on so that we can deal with so that we can easily deal with the snipers. There's 3 snipers that spawn. You want to take those out first, always, or try to get in the routine of that. That's the main thing with this dungeon, is you want to be getting into a routine of doing this thing at this time to prevent anything from going wrong. So now this is the next mechanic that the game is showing us, or the dungeon. It's shown us now that there's the Toland or the Orb mechanic. The Orb mechanic is going to play into the next encounter, the Cube Room. And basically, the Orb is telling us which way to go for the next set of blights. You don't really need to look at him. If you just jump up, you'll be able to see where the next set of blights are anyways, but it's shown us how to do the next encounter, basically. The light and dark mechanic will always be, we'll always have to deal with that mechanic. So once you understand that, which this is something I never noticed doing my first flawless, is that the screen actually tells you whether it's dark or light. This is something I never noticed. I was just standing in the shade and it would be dark, and standing in the light it would be light, but the screen actually comes up, because some areas of the map look like it's dark but it's actually light. There's certain rooms, especially on the boss, so you want to be looking less about the shade and the light, like I was doing on my first week. Stop looking at that and start looking at the actual, what the screen's telling you. It's basically, when you're one shot, your screen goes red. Well, it's the same thing as that, but it just goes white or black, white or dark. Which you'll see more on the next. Obviously it won't. That mechanic I'm talking about isn't going to show up in the wasteland area. Obviously there's 2 secret chests in the dungeon. I'm not going to show where they are. Video's not dedicated to that, but I believe most people know where those chests are. There's one here and there's one on the Rainbow Road, whatever you call that area. With the ad spawns, obviously it's always taken, but you can get either goblins, orange bar goblins, orange bar phalanxes, or the ones that send orbs to you, or blind and knights as well. So there's quite a variety with it, but the sword, I kept the sword on just to deal with that. The sword's handy for this encounter to deal with it quickly. Of course, if you've got to take an armaments on, you're always going to have ammo. If you're somebody that doesn't have any of these raid mods, like literally none of them, as in Hive Barrier, some of the most basic ones, then you shouldn't be going for this flawless. The first thing that you should be doing is look at what my intro was of all the armor build. Anything you don't have on that list, go for it, because everything on my armor is obtainable by a solo player. As I'm a solo player, I barely raid. Okay, I don't like the D2 raids. I used to raid a lot in D1. In D2, I just don't like them. Hopefully in September they're better. Gardener Salvation, it's nothing. To me, all the raids, Leviathan was the best one, but that's gone. But anyways, the point is, any solo player can get what I have because that's how I got them. I'm not saying everything, but specifically taken mods, Hive mods. The Hive mods are from Menagerie, so you can get them from there. You can get them from Crown of Sorrow, but you can get them from Menagerie, Heroic, you know, or normal. They drop from both. So Hive Invigoration's massive. Like, they're all really useful, to be honest. And Last Wish, you can put in the Last Wish code. It's been out for ages. You can put the code in and you can go and get your 6 chests, I believe. So 2 chests on each character. Okay, as long as you've got I mean, you might need somebody with you for actually you can sword skate over there with a Titan. So maybe you can't get a 6 as a solo, but you can definitely get some chests in. If you're doing that every week, you're bound to get 2.0 taken mods. Okay, so with this cube room, as you saw, I looked up there and we have Toland, the orb mechanic that I was talking about. So basically this room, you need to look at the walls. That's the first thing you're doing, as you saw. And then you look down to see whether it's a light mods you need or dark mods. So I looked at where I needed to go, and then I looked at what all mods I needed, and the mods I needed were light on the left side. So I'm standing in the light area specifically, because that's obviously what we need. So I can Nova Bomb one of the knights, and then as you saw, Xenophage destroys the knights and the snipers. I've got an additional sniper on as well, which I ended up barely not using because of Xenophage. One thing I would say that you could do this without is armaments. Not a must to have armaments. Of course, if we started running out of ammo for Xenophage, then we could use our kinetic sniper, which does quite a bit of damage. Not as good as they used to be, but I would definitely have it on as a backup. So right now, we are farming our Devour back. We had to use our Devour there, as we were weak. Now we always want our grenade up when we go to the next face of the room, always. The ads spawn infinitely on the floor that you want. Even though you've done a dunk, you could stay here and just farm ads over and over. So you could come here and do bounty farming if you really wanted to, for example. But that's not the point. You can farm for ammo. Okay, I'm always making sure I have healthy ammo for Xenophage and Devour fresh for the next room. So the idea is you Devour and then you do it in a routine. So the routine is that you kill all 6 acolytes and any eyes. You do not take any of the snipers. Okay? If you start killing the snipers while you're killing ads, you're going to get a knight spawn up on top of you. You don't want that. The first thing, all ads and then Xenophage. And then we can kill the knights. So I believe I needed dark. So of course I'm in the dark zone. It might have been that. On this particular run, which I'm only just watching it back now, there was a couple of times where Toland wasn't on the wall, which is good. It's good and bad. It was bad for the run, but good for you to see what you do, because when Toland, or the orb, we'll call him the orb, when the orb's not on the wall, he's actually above you on the ceiling. If he's on the ceiling, you need to dunk either dark or light. As in, up to you. It's your choice at that point. So dunk whatever is best to you. Whatever's easier. So if there's more dark on the particular floor that you're on, do dark. Dark's generally safer anyways. So I would always advise doing dark. If there is a dark orb to dunk, sometimes on all four corners it'll just be white. So you can only dunk white. But that's very rare that I've just said that can happen. Very rare. Also be careful when you're going up the elevator. Do never go up the elevator if there's a ton of ads. There is a little trick with the elevator though, where you can run over the elevator and still teleport up without having to stay on the elevator, which I do end up doing later on. So it's the same as before. We can actually use Xenophage on the ads as well, if you wanted to. Get the 2 snipers. You'll notice I get my Nova Bomb up quite a lot with the Nezarec Sin and the Gone in Hunger build. Which in my opinion, the way I'm doing it right now is actually easier than Mountaintop and Anarchy for this room. This is actually better. Like if I was just doing a run for the heck of it, like for example not for a video, then I would use this build. Now as you saw there, I was weak from the snipers. When you do the dunk, the sniper will despawn, but they take time. That's why you always have a Devour handy, so I used a Devour there just in time to make sure that they wouldn't have killed me. If I hadn't had my Devour there, I would have died. So we've just had a... For me, I always seem to get an ad spawn just as I'm wanting to go in the elevator. It's just usually how it works out for me, but it's all good. It just means I've got more Nova Bombs to use. Just makes things even easier. Okay, so we have white on the right side. So same again, we'll take the ads. I believe if you have taken Invigoration on rather than Hive, so what the Invigoration mods do is that they give you your class armor, they give you your class ability back on a major kill or powerful enemies. So any orange or yellow bars. I don't think Hive Barrier procs, it doesn't proc off taken snipers, the hobgoblins, but taken Invigoration does. So I could have swapped to taken Invigoration for this room, but the Hive Invigoration is better because you can use it for the knights. Because you can pop a Healing Rift, sit in your Healing Rift and kill those knights, and then get your Healing Rift back when they die. You'll see me do that more often at the boss. It's more important. But right now we're farming ammo. That's literally all I'm doing. The main thing is that you don't want to be coming into the cube room, especially after getting this far, and be rushing the cube room. I would say so far this is probably, so far I would say this is the hardest. The first encounter, once you get it down and once you get the one phase on the boss and get the ads under control, it's probably easier than this encounter. But with this encounter you can always reset, so if you do kill a knight and you've got 3 emotes but they're about to run out and you've screwed up and killed one knight in the wrong zone, rather than forcing yourself to try and get it done before the timer, just let it run out and start again. Always be aware as well of when the ads are sort of spawn in. You'll get a feel for it after so much practice of doing it. So we take the 2 snipers. Now it was important that I jumped over the knight there, because if I'd Nova bombed him, I could have took actual damage and killed myself with that. So I didn't want the impact damage of it. Now this time we actually, as you saw there, got light modes. We're in a dark area, but it was light. So you can see on my screen there, it's going from light, between light and dark at the bottom. So this is where you need to stop thinking about it. Oh well, I'm in the shade. They should be dark modes. That's not how it's. That's not always the case. Some areas of the map look quite dark, but they're actually light. You just need to go by the mechanic, what's happening on the screen at the bottom, where all your ammo count is and stuff. Another reason why I think that the assault rifle is better than Recluse is because it does similar amounts of damage, especially when you got Rampage times 3, and it's got way more range. It's got a good amount of range. So even if you have Recluse, I would still say this weapon's a better weapon to use. Now if you've seen that I stepped on the elevator and then stepped off, and it still teleports you. So if there is a lot of ads and you want to get past the room, then just step on the elevator to then run past. Now with this I actually confused myself. I thought I was at the very end, because the end room is basically what this room looks like. As the end room you basically get Centurions, which that's what I thought was on. I lost count. But again, that's the beauty with Devour. If you do make a mistake, you're out of position. You can proc your Devour, and anywhere in the room you can survive as long as you're killing ads quick enough. I was kind of like confused at this point, so get sniper. You want to get both snipers. You don't want to get one sniper then kill a knight, then get one sniper then kill the knight. You want to get both snipers at the same time and then kill both knights at that point. Okay, so we got our dark mode. We are reminding ourselves which side it is. It is on a not too bad as the stairs, I guess, for cover. And use that. And I believe that this is definitely the farm room at this point. The next one, I mean. Rather than chance it on the elevator, I wanted to kill these remaining ads. So as you see there, I have ads to kill, but I got an ad spawn on top. So it, like I say, it's infinite. So if you're not killing ads quick enough, you'll just get ads on top of you and on top of you. So you've got to keep on top of them, especially if you want to go on the elevator. Even if you do the trick, if there's ads swarming you, it's not good enough. Okay, so actually this was the farm room, I believe. So we need white on the right side. So same again, Devour. And we can clear the room. There is only 6 acolytes spawn, but if you leave them be, they do keep spawning those them eyes. The main thing with the cube room is it's all about position, and you can, I believe, go up at the top. You can actually climb at the top and on that big box above me, buy ads from there. Thing is, that isn't always good. If you're resorting to those tactics, I would say avoid that. You want to learn the room as Bungie developed it. Learn it as it's meant to be done. This is how you're meant to do it. I'm not saying that you're meant to, like, they design it around Devour, but you're meant to kill the ads, then the snipers, then the knights. That's how it's designed. There's different ways of doing it, sure, but this build. So we did get quite lucky there. I used a Devour and I had to use a healing rift, but that's why I always have those things available to me for the what if scenarios. That's another important thing that I forgot to mention. Always make sure you reload Xenophage before you go up to the next room. As if you start to fight, you know, knights or something, or the snipers, without reloading that, it takes so long to load. So make sure you do that, and make sure you farm your ammo as well. If you don't have taken armaments, you could still do it without, as long as you got the rest of the mods. Just, you would use your sniper more often, the one that I had on. It will one-shot, like a kinetic sniper will one-shot those as long as you get a critical hit. And obviously put taken spec on. So this is the final room now, and you're just basically killing the 2 Centurions. You can just spam your Xenophage and they're down. So that's basically the cube room. With this loadout, it doesn't make it too difficult at all. An Anarchy Mountaintop combo in this room isn't even that good. Mountaintop is, I guess, but I would say this loadout right here is far better than that, as it deals with everything: adds, snipers, knights. Okay, so now we're back to the wasteland. This will be just, there's nothing to this. This isn't an actual encounter. You just follow the boss. He always goes right side. That's the way he always goes. I believe when the exotic quest hits, I believe there'll be something linked to the dungeon, and we may fight. I reckon we may fight an additional boss on that wasteland, like right here. But that's just my guess. Okay, so now with the Rainbow Road. So with this, there's different routes you can take. The route that I'm going to show you is by far the quickest. It might not be the safest, but if you've done this long enough, if you know your bearings, then advise you take the route that I do. It's not that dangerous as long as you know what you're doing. If you're not comfortable in doing that, you can walk the whole way. You definitely don't want to be dying on this encounter and getting caught out. The snipers that we're approaching now, you can sparrow past them. They never seem to hit you, ever. I suppose if you're not sparrowing quick, if they double snipe you, they will blow up your sparrow, and that will be a wipe. So you do not want that to happen. So you either want to be comfortable with it and just sparrow right past, or if you're not, just walk the ways. You're not going to be making if you're not making a video on it, then there's no point to be rushing yourself. This is actually time for you to take a rest and then compose yourself for the boss. That particular jump, I don't like to risk it just in case my sparrow blows up, so I jump off for that. So this is the alternate route that you can take. So of course most people go straight ahead, but rather than go straight ahead, if you kill this knight here, and then basically go up these steps. So you go up the steps and right round. There is adds that you're going to face, but you just want to, like I say, it's only for those that know where they're going for it. But if you, like I say, if you're on your solo flawless and you've got this far, just take the route that you know best. There's no yes or no answer to this. So, and effectively you can just jump down to all these plates and to the next pyramid. I will reiterate as well, I've said this 2 or 3 times, if you do not have any of the mods that I've been using in this video, maybe you can get away without taken armaments. But if you have not got Taken Barrier and Hive Barrier or Hive Invigoration, you want to go and get them. I'm not saying that runs can't be done without it. You can do the run with anything, okay? Probably, but the less mods that you have, the harder it's going to be. You're better off, because it's going to be here all season. Go and farm a couple of menageries. Go and do your last wish chests. Before you even start practicing it. I understand with the Anarchy's been a low drop rate, although it's been buffed. It's been buffed this season, but I do understand people not having that. I didn't have it for the longest time either, so I understand that. Same with Mountaintop, although that quest got made easy, or easier. But if you have those weapons, by all means use those. This loadout will work actually kind of funny because it works very similar. You'll see on the boss fight I do similar boss damage to what I would with Anarchy Mountaintop. Now that could just be me. That could be just because I took the damage slow when I used Mountaintop and Anarchy, and then I actually done better on this loadout just because I'm more used to the dungeon. It could be that, but you can get similar amounts of damage without that combo. So of course you just want to jump over the thrall. You see the elevator sometimes bugs out. If it does, just wait, kill ads, proc Devour until it does work. Sometimes you just go up straight away. At this point you want to take a breather, so I did take a just wait. So I just went tall and whatnot, just to compose yourself, and then you can start it up. Also I had to do this video in 2 recordings, so that's why it skips there. So if anyone says, oh well it's not so flawless, you skipped the video, I have to do that on console, okay, because you only have 1 hour limit to recording. Although this video was below 1 hour, I didn't know doing that, so that's just to clear that up. So before ads spawn in, you want to proc a Devour, and at this point you want to sort of do ad clear like somebody would with Mountaintop. So you know, they're jumping, running around the room and spamming grenade launcher shots. It's basically the same. If anything, it can be sometimes better, this grenade launcher, if you hitting your shots. Now I was weak there. I didn't want to proc Devour, as I generally don't like to when all the ads are down, but if it's an emergency where you are going to die if you don't, then you need to do it, else you will ruin your flawless. Also, before I started killing ads, I had a quick look, so I believe it was, I think it was 2 dark, 1 light, I think. So you want to be aware of what you're doing, so then, because that goes into the positioning of where you're going to kill knights from. It's also crucial you get the first dunk. The first dunk is the hardest because there's 3 bosses obviously hitting you from the room, and once you get 1 dunk and clear the ogre, which an ogre spawns every time you dunk, that full third of the room is clear for you. That is your safe haven, okay? So we're using the same mechanics as we have been throughout the full dungeon. So there's the light and the dark mechanic, there's no Tolan mechanic, nothing like that. It's just light and dark, so it's the same as what you've been doing in ad clear. That's all there is to this. Now there's various rooms, and some rooms are better than others. I've heard some people say, oh, this room I find easy, or but this room I find difficult. It's a thing unique to yourself. It's what you find difficult and easy, but you just got to work around it and like sort of explore the rooms. If you wipe on the final boss, don't reset your run. This is when you don't reset the run. You want to practice this boss so you master him. It may take you a full day of doing so, but whatever it takes, you master it, then you go for your flawless. People go for the flawless straight away. You're not going for a solo flawless straight away. You need to master each encounter to get it down to where it's science. Once it's science, then you go for your flawless. That's what you've got to do. You've got to master the dungeon first. Now, talking about the Hive Invigoration, so this is key when you're using it for knight. So you can effectively stick the knight with 2 shots from the Witherhoard, and as long as you hit him direct and do enough tick damage, you will kill him while sitting in a hill. And if I didn't do it with this knight because I was using the hill as cover, so it's the same playstyle as Anarchy in respect. You know, you can hit a target and then jump to where you need to go. So here's where we use Hive Invigoration. We use a Hive Invigoration shot, we kill the knight, and as you notice I get my healing rift back, so that's why it's so handy to have this mod. So that was our final dunk. We don't need to kill the final ogre. The only thing I would say is if you're not on full ammo, i.e. full heavy, because we did switch our heavy weapon to interference now, so we're not using a sword, of course, we're using a heavy nail launcher. So we do a Oppressive Darkness grenade shot, then the Witherhoard, and then spam 5 shots. Obviously it's got take and spec in it and auto load and holster. Once we've done those shots, we go for the snipers. At that point you want to forget the boss. If you can stick the boss though with Witherhoard, do it. Okay. But your priority is snipers. The way I'm doing this is to 3-phase the boss. Okay. But your priorities are the snipers. Now the way I do it, and I would advise you do the same, is that you work ahead of the boss, not behind him. If you're working behind him, you've not only got to jump the platforms, avoid his attacks, and snipers. That's 4 things, and you've got to get your shots on point. So there's so much going on. The best way is just to prioritize the snipers. Tag the boss when you can. Get to the back of the back of the room as quickly as possible. Then this is your big damage phase. So I do my damage phases in chunks. The first, as you go in the room, that's my main phase. Then I tag him when I can as we're moving over, and then this is my big phase. As I do my Oppressive Darkness nade here. The goal is to sort of do the Witherhoard first, then spam my Grey Launcher shots. And then once I run out of heavy, just spam the Witherhoard and my auto. But the goal here is, like I said, to get a 3-phaseable damage. I actually do more than that, close to half-ish. Maybe 35, so it's not too bad on this loadout. So that's essentially what we're going to be doing each damage phase. Try to time out your Oppressive Darkness nades. So you notice I use one at the start. Why do we do that? Well, we do that because we're going to get a second Oppressive Darkness nade to use at the back end of the room. So that's the key, to have 2 of those nades, and make sure you hit them. If you miss them, you lose out on damage. There is errors to this. There's errors to this run for sure. Like, some of my DPS is sloppy. I miss shots, but you still get the 3-phase. So there's room for error with this loadout, but you can still do it. If you don't get the 3-phase, that's fine. You're gonna have to go for a 4-phase at that point. But the point isn't to. If you can 3-phase it, then 3-phase it, because it'll make it easier. But don't try to 3-phase it in the cost that you will actually wipe your full run. So same thing here, we are going to do Devour. We're in a new room now. Personally, this room for me is fantastic. I like it, even for dark or light. There's a lot of light, and the dark's all in the corners of the platforms, mainly. So even though there's not a lot of dark, it's actually safe. The big platform in the middle gives you a lot of cover. And this room seems a lot bigger than most of them as well. So if you get this room, it's pretty good. Same again as well, once you enter a room, you definitely want a quick scan on what you're doing. Even if you just look at one light, at least you know the next thing that you're going to be doing. It's important for where you're going to be positioning yourself. So also it's key to get your first dunk. Don't mess about too much. If you're on your first dunk and you've had 2 ad phases, you're going too slow. Okay, at that point you should only really have 1 ad phase of Scions, and then at that point you know, you should have your first dunk done. Now with this ogre, he got out of hand. Okay, so you can, if you're not hitting your shots, and I didn't have any heavy as well, always make sure that you have a little bit of ammo. Heavy's not it's not essential, but if you had maybe 1 or 2 shots, it does help out. Okay, so we're trying to get a dark mote off this knight, I believe. It's kind of handy when they push you. That's the thing I like about this nade launcher. If I had Mountaintop on and these knights are pushing me, I can't do anything. I'll Mountaintop myself on them. That's the beauty with this nade launcher. If they rush you, you can just hit them in the body, and they'll just take damage over time while you sit in your healing rift. Now if you do not have taken barrier and Hive barrier and you're sitting in a healing rift, I believe the knights will kill you, or you're more likely to be killed. So that's why I would say, that's why I reiterate what I said earlier. You haven't got the raid mods that I've got, then you're not doing the strat the way I do it. You'd be looking for another video that does it without raid mods, which I haven't seen yet, but it'll happen, of course. But this is a run for now. So there we made a mistake. We lost our dark motes from earlier, which it wasn't a big deal. That's the main thing, is just to keep your composure and then go for the next phase. These knights, they just keep spawning up and up, over and over, so. Same thing I do with the ogres that I do with the knights. I pop a healing first. I always pop it behind a pillar as well, just in case there's a scion phase while there's an ogre phase. If you get a scion phase while there's ogres coming at you, that can be quite dangerous. If that's the case, if you do have any heavy, it's worth using your heavy on the ogre, because with these rooms they work the same way they did with the cube room. The scions spawn over and over. Even if you do the room, like if you finish the room and you're ready for DPS but you don't have the ammo, you can farm ammo up. It's not a problem. So if you feel as though you need to use your heavy on the knights, like one shot or something, worth it. Totally worth it. Like right now, for example, we can go to middle, but we could farm ammo, which I didn't bother. I had 16 shots. I believe I can have hold 18. I just went there with 16, but I could have farmed for the extra 2 shots there if I wanted. Or I needed more special, I could have done that. Okay, so same again, we do a Witherhoard shot, and then we'll do a Oppressive Darkness nade with another one. And at that point we're spamming nade launch shots. Be mobile though. Make sure you're using the pillars provided on each platform. When snipers spawn up, turn your attention to them always. Of course, if you've got the catalyst, if you store the weapon, it'll reload for you, and you can kill the snipers with the nade launch or whatever you want. I proc Devour there as well. If you want to do that with your melee, I would recommend doing it. Right now we've got Devour procced and it helps out actually. Okay. Also, another thing about this boss is he goes the same way every time, so it's like left, right, left, right. It's just the same every time. The more you've done it, the more you'll notice that it's the same platform every time, of course. So the same as we've done with the first phase, we're playing up ahead rather than playing behind him. Do our nade. Missed a couple of shots. Just sometimes that can happen if you do his move. Probably best not to spam shots when he's doing his maneuver actually. At the same time, the longer you leave it, the more damage you're losing as well. Just one of those things. Same thing with this boss. Before he leaves, he takes tick damage from Witherhoard. So he'll be still taking slight. If you see the bites moving down slightly, this does this with Anarchy. If you stick him with Anarchy before he leaves, he takes more damage. It's the same with this Witherhoard Exotic. Now I was just going back there for ammo. You can wait in this room. I would highly recommend that you wait in this room for your Devour. Do not go to a room without Devour. Okay? Because depending on what room you get, like some rooms are hellish, some rooms aren't, some rooms are easy. This particular room I find the hardest. A couple of people have told me that the Scion spawn rate in this room is like double the spawn rate than usual, and I would agree with that. The spawn rate on the Scions on this particular room, they just seem to spawn up a lot. So it's something that you've got to keep an eye on. In this room you will find you'll have a couple of times where you have the motes, but you just don't have the time to get all motes and get the dunk before the next Scion phase. If that's the case, what you can do is weaken knights, so get them, edge them to low HP, and then when you kill those Scions on a particular phase, you can then sort of kill them, get the dunk before the next phase, sorry. Also, another problem with this room is light. There's not a lot of light. If you notice, most of it's dark, so if you do get light dunks, it can be hard work for sure. Right now I was trying to do the light dunk first, as of course I did have dark dunks to do, but I wanted to do the harder dunk first, to be honest. But we have 2 seconds on our mode, so we ended up losing it. Again, like with the other rooms, it's very critical that you get that dunk as soon as you can. So at this point I decided to do the dark dunk, because then if I get one dunk at least I'll have safe haven in this room. So I even used my Nova Bomb just to get that night down quick. If you have to do that, use a super, use it. You can always farm super energy later. I don't think I end up needing to, but you can. Got our ogre. I'm going to proc Devour. We've had a ad phase again. These rooms are random as well. You can get this room second, you can get it third. You never get it first. I'm sure that the rooms rotate, so there's that to know. So right now we were needing 2 light. We only had 1 night up. So we got that there. And what you want to do if you have got 3 motes and you're waiting on nights, go to the night that spawns in the light if you are needing light motes, rather than trying to take you know, a night from the wrong area sort of thing. So this was particularly difficult, because like I said from before, the night had spawned up when the ads had spawned up. But we ended up duking out of that, getting the dunk, and then you go for the healing. Now I didn't want to focus the ogre first, as I didn't even have Devour up, so I got my melee kill, get my Devour, focus a couple of the scions, and then we can focus the ogre. I even used some heavy as well, since we can farm that later if we need to. At this point I'm just looking for any sounds that are missed, because sometimes you can, especially this room, they can go into cover and you think you've got all of them but you haven't. And if you leave one, they can just duplicate out of hand. It's no big deal that, anyways, because we do need to farm some ammo, as I had none at all. Just got a couple of drops there though. Okay, so we're on our last dunk. We need light, so we get a light mote off this night here. This particular phase here is the night phase, so the Witherhoard, we can use the heavy shot. Since the damage is, I mean, it can be quite tight, I would try to go each damage phase with 18 grenade launcher shots each time. If you're using a rapid fire frame, it'll be 21 or 22 or whatever. But just make sure you're going with max heavy. If you're not, take the time to farm your ammo, because if you can free phase it, it's gonna make it less stressful. I decided to do another one from back here. Just wanted to try something else. I always go right side as well. It's just something I end up doing. Okay, now snipers are up, so we want to focus them. Always be aware of when he's going to do his teleportation move as well. I haven't really explained the mechanics of the Dark Entropy, so if you can see on the left side, there's a debuff called Dark Entropy, and basically, if you look at the boss himself, he has a circle around him. if you are out of that circle for so long, you can basically die off it. But if you do it the way I'm doing it, you never have to worry about this debuff. So right now I'll be out of the circle, so you'll see it'll go up to ×2 and then ×3 and so on. So let's kill these snipers, get a little lucky here, do a healing. Okay, so we're on our last damage phases. I missed my Oppressive Darkness nade. I advise you don't do that. It's like I say, you can lose a lot of damage if you do what I just did. Another thing with this nade launcher is, yes, you can hit it at the floor, but it's probably better to do body shots like I'm doing now. Or two. But he's one shot, so I'm spamming the nade launcher just to try and hit him before he goes, and basically just get the kill on him. And I knew the damage would be tight there, that's why I was spamming the damage over time nade launcher shot. But anyways, that was the solo flawless while not using Anarchy, Mountaintop or any Pinnacles. Hope you enjoyed it, thank you.
What the nine are trying to say. Light, dark, it don't matter.
Light and dark are not the same.
Didn't say